Good morning, this is Herb with Think Local Pro Site Builder, and today we're going to be going over how to create and edit a content slider. This is the really cool slider that you see on the Apple clone theme, and basically we're just going to be sliding graphics across the front of the screen here. And let's get started. So we're going to go to Add Content, and normally you would go to Advanced Modules, and the content slider is right here under Advanced Modules. You would just drag and drop that into place, but I already have one set up for us for the sake of time, because who wants to waste time watching boring videos? So let's say we've dragged and dropped the content slider. We're going to go ahead and get in and edit it. Let's close that window. So the one thing I could say about content sliders, you have your general height, and I keep that around 500 pixels. You can go as low as 200. It won't look as nice, however, and you could go as high as 800 before you fill up the entire screen on your monitor. I'm keeping mine to autoplay. I have a delay of 10 seconds between slides, but you can certainly allow that to progress faster. I'm looping it, so after we go from slide 1 to slide 3, it's going to loop back around to slide 1 again. Transition, you have two options. You could do a slide transition or a fade. I like mine on slide. Transition speed is about 3 seconds. Again, you could play with all these different settings. It doesn't matter. It's whatever you feel looks the best and will create the best user experience when people log on to the website. You have controllers that you can allow to be seen. It's not my personal preference. I like the arrows. And you could also show a dot navigation as well. Let me just move this over here. If you select yes, it's going to go ahead and place dot navigation directly underneath the slider itself, as you can see right here. Now, what I did in order to make sure that this blended seamlessly with this next row, I basically made sure that in my row settings that the background for the row in which the slider sits on is the same color as the next row. If you don't do that, you might end up with a white bar below here, so you'll just have to play with those settings in order to match it up with the rest of the layout on your website design. So next we're going to move the slides. Now the one thing I can say about your graphics and your slides is that you want to keep everything a consistent height in pixels. Anywhere from 500 to 600 is proper. And if you go ahead and change it up and you have one slide that say is 400 pixels high and the next one that's 500 pixels high, what's going to happen is the content slider is going to start creating an accordion action, and it's going to resize depending on the height of your slide. So you want to make sure that your graphics are all a consistent working height. Otherwise, you will have a bad user experience. So we'll go to clone 2. That was the astronaut slide. So as you can see here, I have the full size at 1920 by 600, and the rest of my slides are 600 pixels in height. I'm keeping that consistent. You could choose your background. I went with photo, and this is really the best way to go about creating graphical slides. The writing in here is obviously built in when I created the slide on my graphics editor. So you do have the option of adding text, but it's really hard to manipulate. I don't like it at all. It's just easier at the time you're creating the graphic to enter in your text at that point. It doesn't make much of a difference. Plus, you could place it anywhere on your graphic slide. Here, when you start entering in headings and text, it's a lot more difficult to get the placement correct. And of course, across all different devices, it'll resize on you. So I prefer just to enter my text writings right away. On this slider, you do see I have a test button here. I did enter one in. And let's go take a look at that. So basically I have the slider for the background. It's my actual graphic. Content layout. What you want to do is, if you want your slider to actually have a hyperlink where if you just click on the slide it'll lead you to a product page or a service page, you're going to want to keep the setting to text instead of none. Just keep it on text, and that way the entire slide becomes a hyperlink to your product or services page. Style, since we're not entering any text, we don't need to worry about this too much. However, I do have a button on the first slider here with the spaceman, with the astronaut. And what I basically did was, you can manipulate that button. I have a left margin of 850, and that pushed the button from this side to that side of the screen. And so you can play around with those settings, and if you want to add a call to action button. Next, call to action. Here, in order for the entire slide to be hyperlinked, you want to enter in the link for your product or service page, and it'll have like a little, what's this for, how does it work, and you can read about it a little bit more. Link target, same window, and we're not going to do a follow on the link. And basically right now I have a call to action button, but if we don't want to use the button, we could say none, and your slide will still remain hyperlinked to the product page. I recommend that. And as you can see, and once we hit save, that'll remove that slider button when the next slide pops up here with the astronaut. But first we have to click save for that to go away. But basically, yeah, just make sure you have, if you want your slides to link to a product or service, make sure you have the link to that page here under call to action. And that's pretty much it for the main portion of the slide. One more thing I could say is, under mobile, you're going to want to create a slide that's more mobile friendly. If you want to keep the same height on your mobile device, I would suggest paring down and creating a separate photo. So here I still have 500 pixels for my height, but the slide going from 1920 to 768 pixels, I've created a much more narrower photo file. And it's more or less the same, but I basically made sure that it looks better on iPads as well as cell phones. And 768 is a good round number for that. You can certainly contact me for more support on these items. I'm more than happy to help until you get the hang of it. That's pretty much it. Go ahead and save. It's going to save that slide. Save, and as you can see, the button's already been removed from the astronaut slider. But yet it's still hyperlinked. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching this video. And again, please just contact me if you have any other questions. Thanks.